Every person on Earth belongs to a culture. From birth, a baby is taught to behave in a certain way. A child learns a native language along with family traditions. This is how the family cultivates a specific view of this world in the child, a perspective which a person keeps throughout his or her life. Just imagine, in the modern world, there are over 2,800 different languages, not counting all the different dialects. Culture can't be separated from language, as it reflects that unique worldview. But what is culture? How strong can its impact be on a person? And why do people travel all over the world to get to know the culture of other nations? We all know the stereotypes about English politeness, French extravagance, and the mysterious Slavic soul. Feeling that your culture is the one true and right one, the tendency to regard a foreign culture as something strange and wrong, a lack of knowledge, and an abundance of stereotypical ideas about other nations' cultures can have grave consequences. History offers many examples of stereotypes about a foreign country that were intentionally created and strategically planned by governments. These views, of course, influenced ordinary citizens' lives. The Cold War, for example, left its mark on history. Waged between the United States and the Soviet Union for almost 50 years, from the 1940s until the early 1990s, ideology was one of the main reasons for the confrontation. The two superpowers who won World War II were trying to change the world according to their ideological principle, a profound conflict between the capitalistic and the communistic political systems. Communistic countries separated themselves from the outside world with the Iron Curtain. The information both governments shared with their peoples was well planned, although it was far from being true, and those 70-year-old nationalistic stereotypes are still alive today. In most cases, it's mass media that influences the public opinion. It's television, newspapers, radio, movies, works of literature and art, some well-known historical episodes, and remarkable individuals also create the general reputation of a country. In the modern world, more and more people seek to travel, as it's the only way to find out how people really live in other countries. More and more people are discovering the world and understanding foreign cultures. At the same time, not everybody has the habit of traveling or even the opportunity to go abroad. Only 30% of U.S. citizens have an international passport, and they usually start traveling when they retire. So, if there is little opportunity to travel, how can an American find out anything about Russian culture? For the past 10 years, more than 100,000 Americans have gotten to know Russian people and their culture thanks to the international educational program Golden Gates. It is one of many ways to minimize the distance between two countries by getting two cultures in touch through folk art to try and understand how people live in different continents. The Golden Gates program evolved step by step. It began with the professional musical trio Moscow Knights, founded by novice musician Vitaly Bezrodnov. He traveled to St. Petersburg, where he reunited with college mate Marina Turlignia. Vitaly and Marina had studied folk instruments at St. Petersburg State University of Culture and Arts. Later, they drifted apart, Vitaly emigrating to America and Marina becoming the art director of a children's folk singing group, Zimchuga, in St. Petersburg. When Vitaly and Marina met again, they decided to merge the two groups, forging a new project dedicated to talented young people as a cultural exchange between the U.S. and Russia. The result was the folk ensemble Golden Gates, where a leading role was given to the young singers who performed Russian folk song. In 2003, the young artists went on their first American tour with the Moscow Knights group. Public response exceeded all expectations. The talented children were so popular that Americans flooded from nearby towns to see the girls, who traveled almost 5,000 miles that first year to share their culture. Business relations were built with organizations across the country that took part in the program. Those relationships developed into real friendships in the years to come. The program is organized to allow children to live with ordinary American families who are willing to welcome Russian students into their homes. This unique program allows the artists to better understand the foreign country, to see it from the inside, and to find out how people actually live on the other side of the planet. David Morris has been supervising the Golden Gates program in North Carolina for 7 years. In that time, he's learned how the program works and has hosted young Russian artists at his own home.
Well, in the world of sound bites and people being so human, they tend to just gravitate toward what the media is telling you about other countries, and we typically only know what you hear about other governments. And really, a government is not the people of that country. And with other countries and some involvement from their culture and their history and heritage coming through the arts, coming through their dance and their music, it's a wonderful way to interact and know them on a more human level.
Some families welcome the Golden Gates group at their own homes for the first time. For the others, it has become an annual tradition. Of course, some performers find language a barrier, but it doesn't take them long to get over it. Studying a foreign language is mandatory in Russia, and most Russian students choose English, as it is considered the language of international communication. Students who take part in the program have different English proficiency levels, from elementary intermediate to advanced. In Fuquay-Varina, a small town in North Carolina, where David Morris lives, everyone knows about the Golden Gates Ensemble. Although Fuquay-Varina is situated only an hour from Raleigh, the major city of the state, the region has become a cultural center, aided by the 3 nearby major universities. The Golden Gates performers come to North Carolina every year, and they stay in the state for a week. It's a relatively long time, considering the demanding schedule of the tour. The Golden Gates has developed a rich, reliable, and long-lasting relationship with the people in North Carolina. The international charity organization Rotary International helps a lot with the program. It's been supporting the project since 2003. Rotary and Golden Gates share a common interest in developing and enhancing international relationships. The Golden Gates group often attends Rotary meetings in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, Ohio, and other states. The artists are well known, and they get annual invitations to present their performances to club members. The participants of the organization have already gotten to know some of the performers, and they can see their professional progress in the art of dance and music from year to year. In some areas, such as Dalton, Georgia, Golden Gate concerts have become part of the school curriculum. These performance classes usually last from 30 to 60 minutes, depending on the child's age. During the classes, Golden Gate artists not only tell children about the history of Russia, folklore, and folk instruments, but they also explain the meaning of every song and dance to bring the stories to life. For the students themselves, it turns out to be a fascinating experience. When American students see the Golden Gate artists singing and dancing, they realize that children from Russia are really just like them. As they hear the performers speak about their country and learn about their culture through dances and songs, the American school children are motivated to learn the other country's culture and perhaps the language.
We've enjoyed the children coming, young people coming, the interaction between them. We've gone to the high school Russian class and they had lunch together and enjoyed talking to each other. It's been very mutually helpful as we broaden our education, broaden our appreciation of people from other cultures.
Professionals from the educational sphere, local and state authorities, cultural organizations, ordinary parents, and teachers face the question, how can we help children, teenagers, and students learn about other cultural traditions? While the Golden Gates artists represent the Russian culture, they themselves get to know a lot about culture in the United States. The performers already have their favorite places as they travel the country. Many Americans have not seen as many unique places in their own home country as the Golden Gate artists have seen while on tour. After 1.5 months of traveling around the United States, the artists return home, having become different people. Whatever cultural background people have, however different they are, it becomes obvious as we get to know each other that we have much more in common than we have differences. And it's in those similarities we can build true friendships and understanding.
We know our histories, our respective histories, and over the years there have been many conflicts and understandings, misunderstandings, power plays, and this continues as the world gets closer and tighter. It's important for us to understand each other, to understand each other's cultures, to understand each other's histories and current desires. Perhaps to avoid some of these conflicts and respect each other, respect each other's cultures, respect each other's languages and histories.
In the United States, people are still afraid of the Russians, Russian spies, It's just hilarious. People don't know about Russia here. Mostly, people here know that it's very cold in Russia, everywhere and all the time, all over the country and all year long. There's not enough information about Russia. During the anniversary tour of 2012, the group traveled with their program from New York to California. They got to know the culture of 10 American states. Over 16,000 people from 4 to 90 years old have watched the live show by young Russian performers. Grand Canyon, Hollywood, Disney World, Old Tucson Studios, Musical Instruments Museum, White House and Capitol Washington, North Carolina Symphony. These are just the major places of the cultural program for the anniversary tour, Golden Gates 2012. Whatever cultural background people have, however different they are, it becomes obvious as we get to know each other that we have much more in common than we have differences. And it's in those similarities we can build true friendships and understanding.